Welcome to another week of the Amazon Leadership Principles series. If you're struggling to pass job interviews with Amazon or tech companies in general, then you are in the right place. I have read all of your messages and I'm committed to teaching you everything you need to know so that you can pass your future job interviews. So this week we are working on the leadership principle number 2, which is ownership. If you have missed my last week's LinkedIn Live where I walked you through the importance of preparing great storytelling and answer behavioral questions around the customer, which is actually this way, customer obsessions, go check that out on my recent LinkedIn post, as well as the link that will directly you to my YouTube channel. Okay. And in there, you can also find a recap of last week's training. My goal is to use my technical recruiting experience from Amazon, from Google, and startups to help get you hired. If we haven't met yet, my name is Holly. I am the founder of the Career Accelerator Masterclass, where I help my clients regain their confidence, define their values and purpose in getting the right job, and not just any job. If you have just joined, I'd like to know who you are and where you're dialing in from today. And if you're excited to learn how you can ace your upcoming job interview, give me a thumbs up and a heart. That always motivates me to continue doing these live, so I know that you're with me. Okay? Oh, hey Laura, hey Raina, hey guys. It gets me really upbeat and motivated when I know that you guys are jumping in, and I'm doing this for all of you. All right, so let's get started. One thing to keep in mind, I chose to talk about the leadership principle in the order that I feel would add the most value to you guys. Okay, let me explain why. I ranked ownership as number 2 out of the 14 leadership principle because employers want to know if you have the right aptitude to impact the organization and not just a team. Okay, if you are in a leadership role, here are 2 of my favorite interview questions that I would ask. The first thing is, are you able to make business decisions for the long-term gain by scaling the company across team? And this is all to the leaders and people managers out there. As you're answering this question, think about a few key factors using the STAR methods. Yes, I know for those who follow me on my channel and on LinkedIn Live, you know I'm a big fan of STAR, and you know I'll be talking about STAR in every single live stream that I do. Why? Because you really need this to create storytelling. By creating the situation of your story, identifying what needs to be done as your task to accomplish, how to create an action plan around that task, and finally, what was your result? Okay, and if you're interested to see my personal example from my time at Amazon, leave me a comment and I will, if we're not connected on LinkedIn already, I'll send you a personal note and give you the attachment for my template. All right, so let's move on to the second question. Tell me a time when you've made a decision that didn't pan out. Almost, if not every single organization, especially in the tech industry, will be asking you this, people managers and individual contributor. Okay, what was the situation and how have you done differently to resolve this? Either you are in a leadership role or in an individual contributor, organizations like to hear an area where you made mistakes. Why? It's all about ownership. They want to see if you can own up to your mistakes and how would you or go about and beyond their expectations or even your expectation to solve the problem. Nobody is perfect. It's okay to admit that you could have done things differently for a better outcome. You must have at least one, preferably 2, example going into a job interview where you have made a mistake. I repeat, you must have at least an example or you won't be getting the job that you've been waiting for. And I know it takes a long time to get from the initial recruiter reach out to passing a phone interview, technical interview if you are a technical professional, to the on-site interview process. Okay, you've worked very hard to get here, so let's make sure that you're buttoned up and ready to get that job. Moving on, individual contributor. Amazon defines ownership as acting on behalf of the entire company, not just their team, which means you're never going to say, this is not my job. Okay? So a lack of ownership is on top of my list as professionals are not getting the job that they deserve. Some of the common things to avoid, and I'm saying this with a lot of love to job seekers out there. I personally have interviewed thousands, at least several thousands of candidates, from engineer, program manager, engineering leaders, of course, recruiters and HR professional as well. The number one thing that really irks me a bit as an interviewer is I hear a lot of, me, and me. It's awesome that you have great success in the company or the role that you're in, also your previous employer, but you don't want to come across as arrogant. Okay, confident is a great thing to have. It's great to have clarity on what did you own part of the project, if at all of the project, which is amazing, perfect, right? Talk about your relationship with designers, UX or UI designer, program manager, or technical program managers. So you don't want to leave an impression that you did it all on your own. What happened? Who helped you to get there? So oftentimes as an interviewer, I see a lot of candidates make this mistakes where it's always about them and they miss the little step on who did you pull in the win with you in order to accomplish project ABC, and is that your decision? Okay, it's actually snowing like cats and dogs outside, so I am reheating my hot water for the last half an hour preparing for this live stream for you guys. And a lot of this question specifically on Glassdoor. Again, Glassdoor did not sponsor this live stream. I am just a really big fan because I find that with all the interview prep tools out there, there's google.com, you can go straight to amazon.com or Amazon Leadership Principle, and you'll find a bunch of information. But Glassdoor is truly my go-to. If you go in there, and there's tutorial on my last video and most of every single video where I gave you a little clips on how you can do those research in finding specific interview questions around even ownership. I wanted to share a couple with you guys. The first one is, and these are commonly asked questions that I have seen throughout multi-billion-dollar company as well as startup, okay? Tell me about time when you took on something significant outside of your area of responsibility. Why was it important and what was the outcome? Okay, now remember, we talk a little bit about the STAR methods. So as you're answering behavioral questions, you need to go through the STAR method in creating the right content for your answer. Okay, describe a project or idea, not necessarily your own, but how you implement primarily because of your efforts. You're not leading the project, but what did you do to help others? For what was the outcome? And if there are challenges in that project, excellent. Share your thoughts on that, okay? What did you do to work together to bring the best outcome, and what is the ROI? Another one that I really like is give an example when you saw a peer struggling and you decided to step up to help without anyone asking you. It's really rare, sad to say, and I want to be as authentic as possible here, that I've come across either my teammates or my peer who sees newer folks struggling that's not used to, let's just use Amazon as an example, that moves extremely in a fast pace. What did you do to step in and help them by asking the right questions? Because a lot of the time, what you don't know, right? So that's a big part of ownership. And in Amazon's own word, how they define ownership as acting on behalf of the entire company beyond just your team. And you never say that is not my job. Okay, so when you're answering these questions, make sure you're being cautious of your answer. You could be scientific, healthcare, you could be an attorney. It doesn't matter what interview you are in. If you focus on the STAR method, I guarantee that you will show up to a job interview 100% confident. Then you would have already done your homework. Okay, it's my research. Okay, Last week, I spent some time in talking about researches and no excuses. There are focus on one or the other, specifically Glassdoor. You can find very specific answer to the organization that you're interviewing on, down to the position. Okay, you don't have to be a software engineer or solution architect. You can even be a finance manager or an accountant. If you follow my steps and my tutorial, you will be able to be so prepared to get the job that you want. And I would love to hear. And if you have any questions or you'd like to see a video in more of a hands-on in creating step by step, as I mentioned earlier, I have a personal example, but I can create one just for your position title if that is what you're interested in. Okay. So I have a bonus tip for you guys. How long should my answer be? I also talk about the 60-second elevator pitch, which is my very first video. Please excuse my eye contact. It is horrific. But if you pay attention to my content, anytime when someone asks you a question, interview or not, this is even at a job fair, when someone asks you, tell me about yourself, or, what do you do for a living, or shoot, how's your day for that matter? You want to keep in mind of being cautious of others' time. Okay. So time is very important here. Limit yourself to 1 minute. Well, I guess if you have something extremely high level and you are interviewing for an executive position, sure, you could go up to 2 minutes, but nothing more than that. I believe that once you have a compelling story where you structure it within a minute, you can nail it down. I would also recommend for you to practice in front of the mirror. That is exactly how the interviewers are looking at you. I'm unable to schedule live stream in advance because LinkedIn Live doesn't allow that yet. Okay. Thank you so much for all of your time. Stay warm. For those who are in Pacific Northwest or Seattle, don't forget the thumbs up and heart. See you guys soon.